So one thing that I have been asked a lot to do recently was go back to doing more team building guides and things like that for you guys on the channel. I used to do them a bit, but I kind of stopped because I felt like team construction took a back seat to power, right? And it's been that way for a little bit here. Obviously, you want to have some good teams, but I personally felt like, my own opinion, like, you know, too many units just do too much damage now, and you can power through whatever, so it doesn't matter as much. But if you guys want to see more, please support the videos as I put them out by leaving a thumbs up and also watching as much of the video as you can, right? If you can only watch a little bit now, please come back later, things like that, because it's huge and it's very important. If you only watch like 30 seconds or like a minute or 2 minutes, that's not great for the video. Anyways, that being said, if you guys want to see more, you know what to do. Jumping in, we're going to start out with a brief kind of recap for Beerus and Whis that are coming out tonight on the Japanese version of the game. So, Explosion of Anger and Realm of Gods categories get 3 key and 130% HP alongside 170% attack and defense. Now, the super attack raises attack for, that's a 99 turn limit, but I'll just say limitlessly because you're not hitting that, right? 30%, pretty nice, right? On top of that though, he does immense damage with greatly lowering the enemy's defense. He screams, "Take me to the Goku event" with those two things, right? Passive skill, defense plus 100% at the start of the turn. Also, 150% attack when performing a super attack. That is massive in conjunction with the raise on super attack. That's massive. That's a lot. The calculations for this guy are going to be through the roof offensively. He also gets an additional 70% attack and defense within the same turn after receiving an attack. Now, that is something they do a lot with Beerus units in the game, it seems. They want him to get hit. So by extension, he's made to be in the front spot, and ideally in the front spot with an attack coming in the very beginning of the turn, right? So he can benefit from that, and he'd be able to tank however many. So like the first hit, he wouldn't get that extra 70% defense outright, but the following ones, he'd be just fine defensively, and he'd be good to go. Anyways, made for the front spot. Anyways, on top of that, though, randomly changes key spheres of a certain type to rainbow key spheres, and attacks effective against all types when there's a Realm of Gods category enemy. That I mentioned that he screams, "Take me to the Goku event," even though he's technically, you know, except for the second to last phase, I guess. You get my point, though. He has a advantage regardless versus the last boss, but STR, he's gonna hit really hard versus STR. And also that Rainbow Orb generation is sneaky good. Like, Rainbow Orb production is huge in this game. If a unit can do that, that's amazing, always. So he has an active skill, Retaliation, attack and defense plus 50%. This is going to totally calculate separately. And also attacks effective against all types, and attacks always connect for one turn. If you're versus a boss that dodges you is what that means. They can't dodge this hit. Also, can be activated when HP is 70% or less, starting from the 4th turn from the start of the battle. Very, I don't want to say hard. It's kind of like in the middle. Because it can be decently hard to get below 70% unless you're versus an event that'll hit you really, really hard, really early, like Super Battle Road. Versus Super Battle Road, it's not a problem per se, right? More or less 4 turns might be the issue before getting below 70% is versus Super Battle Road. That being said, this is going to be nuts, and he's going to be crazy for that turn he activates this. General Beerus links here, but he does have Berserker, which most Beerus cards actually don't have, it seems like. Yeah, some of them do, most don't, right? So that's kind of what I wanted to mention here. Berserker is a thing that is possible, as well as, you know, some other stuff that he has because of the Explosion of Anger Realm of Gods duo. So he's really good. You can see his categories down here. Some calculations for him. At his best, with everything activated with the active skill and stuff, he gets 380% attack and 410% defense when all conditions are met, while also being effective against all types. That's ridiculous. Also, the 70% defense is calculated separately for a total of 240% defense after being attacked. Yo, this unit is nuts. Like, you can see it. It's crazy, right? Let's take a look at Whis really quick here. Whis is crazy good too. Whis does supreme damage, lowers enemies' attack and defense, and seals super attacks. Screams Super Battle Road, bodying Super Battle Road in general. Like, it's not even a contest at all. Attack and defense plus 100% at the start of the turn. Great chance of evading enemies' attacks, including super attacks, right? That's a 50%, no, 70%, excuse me, chance of dodging outright. He's almost never going to get hit. And then if he does, he has good defense, and he also can debuff. That's a crazy combination in and of itself without the rest of this. Also, he gets 50% more defense with each attack evaded within the same turn. So if he happens to dodge, and he looks like he dodges like 2 or 3 hits, and then he doesn't dodge one by chance, his defense will be so stupidly high it doesn't matter. Not to mention that he steals and lowers attack and defense. Whis is like one of the ultimate tanks in the game, if you didn't understand. Assuming he can dodge, right? He's one of the ultimate tanks in the game. He's not bad outright, you know, versus other content, but he screams Super Battle Road because versus other content, you can't, like, seal or debuff, and sometimes you can't dodge. You know what I'm saying. Also, all enemies get 50% attack and recover 10% HP at the end of the turn when there is an ally whose name includes Beerus, excluding Whis, attacking in the same turn. 50%. Yo, hold on. You know, like, this is nuts. It's a crazy powerful support passive. So outright, that makes him one of the best units to run on this team. So very easy, very easy team construction is going to look something like this. Beerus as your lead, Whis on the team as well. He links decently well enough with Whis. He's got Godly Power, Connoisseur, Shocking Speed, and Fierce Battle alongside a freaking 50% buff, right? And I will say the healing that all these guys do with Connoisseur, this guy's Recover 10%, that stuff is not particularly conducive to things like Berserker, which is really hard to get below 50%, but it's a 20% attack link nonetheless you can get. And then also the active skill, but still, regardless, you want to run them together, right? If we go ahead and actually take a look at some more of the units that are in these groups, actually, let me pop open Explosion of Anger in case you guys haven't seen it. It's a good category. I think it kind of is missing a few things. There's an innate issue with running Beerus as the Realm of Gods category lead that you don't necessarily have with UI Goku or Zamasu. What that is they've done this thing where the villain units are really... Goresh made this point recently, so shout out to him. But I mean, it's not like I didn't notice it, but the Realm of Gods team has been able to kind of branch off to become also a villain-centric team. And they all link really well because they're all like Zamasu variants, Rose, or things like that, or even Gowasu Zamasu. They all link really well. So Goku Black variants, Zamasu variants, and that's kind of how that team looks. So you don't have an issue per se with this guy. And then there's enough general links across the board to where even if you run him as your lead, you can float him out. And then if you want to run UI Goku as your lead too, he has good links like Over in a Flash. He's got a Tournament of Power. He's got Prepare for Battle. You can run more of like a Saiyan type of build with some of these Saiyans that you see on the screen, and you'd be good to go, right? You can also do some combinations like under Zamasu and just different things like that. But Beerus does not have that same flexibility with the link set. He really needs to be alongside basically other Beerus cards, Champa cards, or Whis cards for the most part. That's pretty much how it works for him. So if we take a look at Explosion of Anger, that doesn't really alleviate a lot of that concern or a lot of that issue, but some of the best general, like, thrown out team design for him would be something like this. You have Beerus, you have Whis, you have LR, Beerus, and Whis, which is another unit that has all of those links you need. It's another unit that heals you a crap ton. This is why I said, like, Berserker's a good link, but on a team centered around the Beerus, it's not easy to particularly have or maintain. And this unit also needs to take a hit, and you know how it works, right? So you'd have a rotation, ideally, with this guy, and then the opposing rotation would be this guy, and then how do you wrap up the rest of the team? If it's me, I'm just throwing in some supports. If I'm being honest, the last few spots I'm going to are going to some supports, especially because Realm of Gods has some of the best support units in the game. She immediately is on my team. Immediately. She's too good. Immediately on the team. And then from here, you have other options. Like if you want to go all-out offense, for example, the West Kai is a solid one. She's going to be an option always to kind of look forward to for this team, especially when she gets closer to Awakening. When she awakens, she's going to be huge. Like, this could jump to 50%, 10%. She might even offer some key or something like that. Who knows, bro? She's going to be disgusting when she awakens, right? So definitely keep an eye on her, and she's still really good regardless prior to that, right? So you have that as an option. Personally, though, I'd like to not go full offense. I'm throwing you on my team. Also, I have that key support, which could come in handy with the LR as well. So this is kind of how my team is looking right now, right? Got these three, you, and then my last spot, it's kind of like whoever I want to be in that last spot. You could really dip into Explosion of Anger for your last spot if you really, really want to. The problem I kind of had with this grouping was it's solid, but I kind of would want it to be a unit that has like Berserker or something like that just because I can get that potentially. But I think one of the sleeper kind of like good candidates for this team is actually going to be Kaba, only because Kaba is able to really, really buff you on one rotation and then this guy on the opposing rotation. Now, the Beerus does not benefit from that, but Kaba himself is offering 50% to those other STR guys, while also still technically on the turn with this guy being able to get another 50% attack, and Kaba can just eat up all those STR orbs if you really need them. So don't sleep on Kaba as an option if you're literally looking for this grouping. The Broly characters are good. Again, I mentioned how Beerus' issue is that he doesn't have the link set to fit super well alongside Saiyans. If you want to run Beerus as a lead, you can put more Saiyan characters in the team to run characters like Gohan and not have key deficiencies and stuff like that. Whis becomes far worse in that instance because you basically want to have a Beerus on rotation so you can get that 50%, unless you're just going to use Whis as an off-rotation type of tank, which he's still really good at being, right? Things kind of change a little bit in that instance. But to kind of summarize it, I am going to just basically be building a Realm of Gods team because not much in this category I really need. They have some really good hard-hitting options in Explosion of Anger, excuse me. Like all the Broly cards are really hard-hitting. Can't sleep on Int Rose. They've got some amazing units, and that's why I said you can run Explosion of Anger with Beerus as an off-rotation unit, run some sand sets and run them as main rotation units and be good to go with that. Like, for example, in terms of how this one works, this is kind of like a shallow category, to be honest. You almost need a look at some of the other stuff to come in the future. For example, this guy's Awakening, like, we need to know what this guy will do. It was announced recently. We need to know what he's going to do in order to really kind of shape up the Explosion of Anger category. There are other options in here, like this Gohan, and then also LR Gohan, and then another LR Gohan set. Like, you can do things like that. And you can also kind of still do, like I said, Rose stuff and dip into Realm of Gods and get the other, like, Zamasu variants and still kind of do the same type of deal like I was mentioning earlier. And then there are some more niche sets that would include characters like Blue Kaioken, but the downside is, while his support passive is very good, or active skill is really good, he does need a certain number of reps of U7 units, which this Beerus does not actually fit into. So there are just different things like that that are kind of wonky that, again, only really happen with Beerus as the main leader. And he's not bad at all. I'm not trying to get that point across. He's not bad, right? If you're also looking for orbs, you can go ahead and do this. But I guess it depends on the content you're taking on, because if you need access to, like, a unit that'll stack defense, this guy could be your guy, right? He's got Shocking Speed, he's got access to Fierce Battle, which is all you really need in terms of being on this team, right? Shocking Speed has to be your primary key link for the most part, unless you're self-sufficient. You can do some other combinations of things as well. In terms of the Realm of Gods team, I'm going to go ahead and pull that back up. To go ahead and wrap up my general team build, to summarize, this is how it was looking. And this is all my preference, right? Because I'm not sleeping on the LRs. I know that they're a thing. I know they're incredibly powerful. Unless you're running Beerus off rotation and then have those two on rotation together, then I don't really see much point, right? In running them kind of separated or anything like that. Also, not sleeping on characters like this. These guys are really good, but again, same type of deal. If you want to maximize Beerus specifically, the team's design changes, right? Because if you're going to run these guys as units on the team, for the most part, it doesn't really matter who you choose. It doesn't matter who you choose as a leader. You get almost the same result, pretty much, right? So, to round it up, I think I would love to see some of these cards get easy A's in here. But I think I'm going to go with Topo. I think Topo might make the last spot on my team. Or another unit similar to Topo. This category has a bunch of them. Another unit similar to Topo does make the last spot on my team, probably. And that's how things are looking for me. I would probably include this guy if he didn't have that requirement for another Vegeta's family unit on team. It's just little things like that that can kind of change it a little bit. And you've got this really cool scenario, though, where Beerus is going to be very potent. And again, if you want that last spot to be a unit, potentially with Berserker, I wish Berserker had, like, a support unit. Like, a support unit like this guy would be my ideal last spot on this. Like, if Kaba had Berserker, I would not feel bad about putting him in that last spot at all whatsoever. It's just I don't need int-type support, right? Also, this Broly, he can technically do it if you really want to, right? His TUR as well should have Berserker, and you can technically throw him on there despite not having access to the category. That's another thing that makes it a little wonky, is like, it's kind of hard to get this link at all. But Explosion of Anger does have access to this Broly, for example, so you can really do stuff like that. This Broly is actually not a bad candidate either. Berserker, Fierce Battle, and Shocking Speed. Yeah, I wouldn't sleep on this guy. He's a good candidate too. So that's how things kind of look in this grouping. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hit that subscribe, of course, if you're new for more content. Let me know as well what some teams you guys are going to be building for Beerus in terms of how it works, right? I didn't really dip too deep into, for one, Explosion of Anger, just for the record, I think it's good. It just needs a lot more options. He needs Realm of Gods as subs. Like, it's that simple. In terms of Realm of Gods, again, I wanted to get this point across very, 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 very clearly. You can do something like this and be just fine. Just for the record, Beerus, here. You can even go here as well if you really want to. Fill in Supreme Kai of Time, and then maybe go Wasu or somebody else that links decently well alongside these guys, and that just wraps it up. Like, it doesn't, Beerus just winds up being the leader, and that's it, right? There's not much really I need to say about that. I think that's pretty straightforward stuff. So, anyways, thank you all for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed today's video, hit that subscribe, of course, if you're new for more content, as well as that notification, so you don't miss anything we upload here on the channel. Again, if you guys watch the entirety of the video, I appreciate you big time. Have an awesome day, and I'll catch all of you in the next one.